Welcome to the Kingdom Educators podcast, where we empower Christian teachers to grab a hold of heaven's hope-filled perspective so you can activate transformational impact in your classroom and community. I'm your host, Jesica Glover, and I warmly welcome you to wake up to your strategic placement as a kingdom educator, anointed by the Creator and equipped by all of heaven to release the radical goodness of God that will transform lives and reshape education. Welcome, everybody. I am so excited to be back with you on the Kingdom Educators podcast. Today, we are continuing on with our incredible new season about God writing his story in and through our lives. And today I have invited a special guest from Christian Educators. And she comes to us from Florida with 22 years of teaching. She's currently teaching third grade and is a mentor to first, second, and third year teachers. Today, I'd love to introduce to you Trish O'Boyle, which I am so glad that you're here, Trish. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. And I've invited her to share a little bit about her story as an educator. And we're just going to have you start out, Trish, by sharing kind of what drew you into teaching. I know you had a little 10-year break having kids, which is such a blessing to get to stay home with them.
Yes.
But at some point, once you were drawn into teaching, your faith and your classroom started to intertwine in a deeper way. And then we end up getting into our interview. So will you just start out with?
Sure. Well, I always loved teaching and I always loved being with kids and I always felt a calling to it. But it was probably in the last 5 or 6 years, I think, that it really changed for me. And it was when I started getting involved with Christian educators. And I went to something, I think it may have been a left dinner, I'm not sure. And I heard somebody talk about taking the presence of Jesus with you into the classroom.
Yeah.
And that just gripped my heart. And I knew instantly that God was really speaking to me. So that kind of began my journey of really seeing him in my classroom and what that meant and how it made a difference in my life and in my school.
And if you're somebody who's never heard of Lyft, I just want you to know that in the show notes, you can find a link to Lyft America. And they are basically a dinner or a breakfast hosted at a location somewhere, probably in your state. If not, maybe you can bring one in. But we really gather as Christian teacher missionaries working in public and private school who are interested in connecting with others with the same mission and meeting with the Lord, being refreshed and remembering, like Trish said, that we carry his presence wherever we go. And it's important as teachers that we care for our hearts, which is a lot of this season that we're in the podcast, to make sure that as we're carrying his presence, we're allowing God to work in us in and through our surrender too. So yay, it's so good to be here today. So Trish has this incredible story of wanting to carry Jesus's presence in. And so our questions today are going to kind of wrap around that.
Like I said, his presence, I really began to hit me how powerful that was. And I think I thought in order to be a missionary or to be on mission for Jesus, I had to share the gospel with somebody in public school, at least where I am. You cannot do that, And I began to see that when I walk into any classroom, the very presence of God comes with me, and that can change things, even if I never say his name out loud.
Yeah.
And I began to see God do those things in little ways and big ways. Literally, I would have this idea and I would start doing something one way in my classroom. And a couple of weeks later, the district would send out, you have to do it this way. Or I would just know what to do with a kid and I had no idea where that idea came from. Sometimes he would give me words to say to a kid that I had no idea how to help them in a certain situation. And I watched him begin to transform some lives in my classroom that there really was just no other explanation for other than it had to be his presence. So I began to be very aware of his presence. People would come in my room and they'd say, "Oh my gosh, it's so peaceful in here." Or they would say, "Oh my gosh, it's like a spa in here." And I realized that they were just sensing God's presence in that classroom.
How did you get to that point of truly hosting his presence in your classroom so that people were coming in and saying, oh, it feels like a spa, or I feel peaceful in here?
Yeah. Well, it's been a journey. And one thing I do now, and he's kind of helped me develop it, is I'm kind of intentional in the mornings for me. And you could do this anyway. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. But the way
Mm-hmm.
I do it is I usually go early in the morning and I do my quiet time in my classroom and I watch the
Okay.
sun come up. And
Wow.
sometimes depends on the day. I may have to do a really short quiet time. It may be 5 or 10 minutes, but I usually walk around the desk and I pray for certain kids, certain days.
Yeah.
And I have some verses that I use that address different things like when there's fear or when you need hope or whatever. And if I'm sensing something in my classroom, those are the verses I will literally march around my room and pray for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the day, I try to tell the kids, as I can still hug the kids at my school. So I hug them and I try to say something positive to them at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I saw you trying science and I know you don't like it. Just want you to know I appreciate that. Sometimes it's as simple as, I'm just so glad you were here today, and then this is the new part I'm working on. When I turn around, that's usually when, as a teacher, we go, oh, here's all the things I did wrong in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I try to think of one way that I saw God work in my classroom and be
Mm-hmm.
thankful for it. And, instead of thinking about all the bad
For you. That's
things.
for you
For
as the
me
teacher.
personally, yeah.
That's so good.
So, and then I think probably I had a little boy in my classroom and when I was teaching fourth grade, and we'll just call him Toby, and he was a very angry kid. Later on, I found out that his mom actually was a prostitute and he had a lot of trauma in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very angry and he would come in my classroom and he would say, I hate my mom, I hate school, and I do not want to be here. And he would say that over and over. And the other kids in my room were just like, what? You hate your mom? I mean, like so I had to talk to him about that. And, they don't train you for this in your college
Right.
classes. So I didn't know what to do. And then one day I just felt like God's presence said, say this. And I said to him, Toby, I'm so sorry about all of that. And I hate that you feel that way. But I want you to know that I'm going to do whatever I can to make this a positive day for you while you're in my class. And
Hmm.
after about 3 months, I said that every day. He stopped saying it.
Wow.
And then I saw him start to play at recess. I saw him start to work his way into groups. I saw the anger start to fade. He started to lose weight because now he's playing at recess. And I just literally saw his whole countenance change.
Wow.
I really didn't do anything. I just tried to listen to him and I prayed for him. And there really is no explanation other than I just think he encountered God's presence and it changed
Mm-hmm.
him. And I saw it stay because in fifth grade, I also saw him and it stayed. It didn't change. His countenance was different. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when I really started to see, okay, God's presence is here and I need to be very aware of this.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. Right.
uh, okay. So God's presence is making a difference every day in your classroom. Besides Toby's story and maybe teachers coming in and saying, oh, it feels peaceful in here, or maybe guests that come in, what does it look like for you, Trish, on a normal day, God's presence in your classroom?
It can just be, I kind of try to start my day praying with him, praying for the kids. I just always want to welcome the kids when they come in, be very excited. I see as the year goes along, I've always been thrilled that I've been able to build community in my classrooms. That's just one thing I love doing. But now I realize it's not really me building community. It's just God's presence settling in over my students. Like they really do come from very difficult situations. I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of kids, I'm in Florida, so we have lots of different nationalities. We have lots of kids who don't speak English. I mean, there's a lot of challenges in our
Mm-hmm.
classroom, but I really see the kids grow in listening to each other, taking turns. I just see his
So
presence
good.
just be very powerful in there and just their care and concern for each other. And you
Mm,
just see it change as years goes along. And I think it's just because they feel his presence in there too.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it other than there's just kind of his presence is there and
Uh-huh.
I can feel it and I know he's with me.
Wow. It almost seems like they're being taught how to be friends. And then because there's a whole communication piece with that on, we care intrinsically on the inside, then it starts to show on the outside.
Right.
But often we need to be touched first. And so, like when you think, even with Toby's story, he's obviously receiving something on the inside so that now he's playing at recess and responding, and he stops saying, I hate school. But then these other children, they actually care and listen to one another. That's a lot of progress.
Yeah, that's the amazing part. And sometimes it's big, like with Toby, and sometimes I don't even see it till the very end of the year. Another little boy named Natan, he was literally going blind. So he required a lot of extra help with things because he had to have big print and all these kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
his mom is actually a very strong Christian, kindest, sweetest little boy ever. So
Mhm.
I didn't really think he had any problems.
Mhm.
I saw him, like, he was not an overly affectionate child, but I saw him by the end of the year really start to embrace me. And
Mhm.
anyway, his mom wrote me this note at the end of the year, and she talked to me about how going to recess was a scary thing for him because he couldn't see so very
Yeah.
well. So it was hard for him to run and play, and he had the courage to try it. And he came home and he goes, Mommy, I have a friend. I played with him at recess, and just her heart for him, I saw God transform him into having the courage to reach out and not be afraid and be able to
Mhm.
form friendships. So, it's just like God's presence just does different things in different kids' lives, and I never know what it's going to be.
Yeah. Courage for him.
Yeah, for him, it was courage. Yeah.
Wow. You've shared a few stories about
Hmm.
where you've seen God move in your classroom in ways you can't fully explain. Are there any others that you want to share?
Um, really traumatized little girl, and I just saw God completely change her life too. She came to me, she had already been kicked out of one class, and I shouldn't have had her because I already had like 20 kids, and the other teachers in my grade level had like 15. But somehow she showed up in my class, dumped all of her books
Wow.
on 3 desks, and said, Here I am, now what? And that was my start with Elizabeth.
Woo! Quite an introduction.
Yeah. And I mean, she was angry kid. She was a lot. The funny thing was, she would not leave my side. Like, she wanted to be right by me, which is interesting because she didn't really like people. She didn't
Mm.
have a good family dynamic.
Mhm.
And she would say, I can't. This isn't working, miss. This isn't working. And I would just say, Elizabeth, just try. That's all I'm asking. Just try.
Yeah.
And I saw God again just do something that I could not possibly explain. And because they had me track her because they were going to put her in a behavior unit.
Mhm.
That's how bad her behavior was. And at the end, I begged them, I said, please give me 3 more weeks with her
Mhm.
because she qualified.
Yeah.
But I said, please give me 3 more weeks. I don't think that's where she needs to be.
Yeah.
And anyway, by the end of the year, that little girl, her whole behavior had changed, and she scored higher than any other kid in that grade level in math and reading in improvement points by the end of the year.
Oh my goodness. Talk about unexplainable, right?
Right. And again,
Jesus'
it's just
presence.
like, I don't know. It's just his presence. And I think she wanted to be close to me
Mhm.
because I think she sensed that presence there.
Mhm.
And then as she grew in her confidence, she could let me be farther and farther away from her in the classroom.
Yeah.
But I mean, both of these have great endings, but it was very challenging to walk through with
Mhm.
these kids trying to figure it out. And so I needed God's presence to be able to help me do those things.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I've learned is just that I truly, and it's going to make me choke up saying this, I truly underestimated his power in his
Mm.
presence, and that I don't have to say his name,
Yeah.
that just God's very presence can change somebody's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And teachers have that great ability to take that into their classroom and just let his presence just change kids and teachers too.
Yeah.
Like he can do so much if we just pray and we just kind of give him our classroom.
Wow. Those listening, you can hear like Trish's love laid down for the Lord. And I think it's just important to remember, like she's expressed here, is that we have this charge, I would say, from the Father. Like he's invited us into this space to be a missionary with him, and we carry him wherever we go, which means he wants to be leaky and get out. And that it says in the word, it's by my stripes that you are healed. And when we carry that healing presence of Jesus wherever we go, his healing blood, it can be leaky and touch people and they can be healed. And I just think about Peter and Paul and their like effect on, the very shadow healing people in the New Testament, and how that can happen for us today, that God's on the move. He's in a good mood and he wants to use us in our classrooms to touch these lives that have no other way of touching Jesus sometimes but through us. What a privilege.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's right.
Okay, so what you've had to do is surrender and lay down to walk in this kind of awareness of his presence. What does that look like? Like, what have you truly had to lay down to be aware?
I think the first thing is time. Uh, as teachers, we are pressed for time.
Yeah.
We have so much on our plates, and more just gets added, and we have meetings, and we don't have planning periods. And so, time is one of them. Like, literally, 1 week I go early because partly to do my quiet time, and partly I just want to get things done when there's nobody else there and I can just
Right.
not be interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
And this 1 week, especially, I think I had 2 or 3 days, I had a teacher stop by my room and say, "Hey, can I talk to you? I just want to see if you can pray with me about this."
Yeah.
And so, you have to say, "Okay, God, I'm going to trust you that I need to give myself to this and commit and be present in this. And I need to say, okay, whatever it was I was going to get done, you're going to help me figure it out so that I'll be able to figure it out and something, and it'll be okay."
Mm-hmm.
And so it isn't always convenient when people need us. It is definitely more work as a teacher to deal with kids like Elizabeth and Toby,
Mm-hmm.
having to research things and think about things and pray for them. So, time, I think, would be the first thing. I have to let him be in charge of my time, which isn't always easy.
Yeah.
The other thing is control.
Yes. I was going to say that goes with the time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I teach in a very high performing school,
Okay.
and there is a lot of pressure to
Mhm.
do very well on tests. I
Okay.
mean, it is a great school, and my teachers are amazing people,
Mhm.
but there is a lot of pressure to do really well on these tests. And so there are times when I just have to trust God. Sometimes it doesn't make sense what he asks me to do,
Mhm.
or I have to trust him that, well, I know if I did this will help me look good. This will help my kids do good on this. But sometimes he asks me to do something else and to take that time that I would have used for those things and spend it letting the kids know how important they are.
Mm.
So it's a constant balance of trying to do what's right for kids, but at the same time, help your kids learn the way your district wants them to.
Yeah.
So I've had to give control of that and just say, okay, I really feel like you're telling me to do this. So this is what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to trust you with the results at the end of the year that the test scores will be okay.
Mhm.
So I would say those two things, time and control,
Yeah.
would be the things that
Yeah.
I have to surrender on a daily basis.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your honesty. I just feel like surrender is truly letting go of sometimes control can make us feel comfortable because we feel like we're in charge when really, I mean, we all know teaching is like your flexibility has to be your middle name, but it's
Right.
also how do we handle that too? And so giving
Right.
those where we could have been previously frustrated into like, okay, God, help me to step into your joy of what's possible in this situation rather than being stuck in, I know it would be better logically in my head to go this way because he's so
Exactly.
about inviting us out in the boat and we have no idea what's actually going to happen. And so
Yeah.
that whole like, I'm going to trust you is really letting go of all results and control.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and even while you're talking, it just kind of dawned on me that I think we have to let go of other people's opinions
Oh,
too,
yeah.
because both of those kids that were hard, Toby and Elizabeth, teachers didn't like them. And honestly, I get it. I mean, there were times in difficult,
Mhm.
but I think we have to let go of that and have to try to see them like God sees them,
Mhm.
and have to let go of other people's opinions and expectations
Mhm.
of what these kids are going to be like.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's not easy either
Right.
sometimes.
It makes me think of something that I've picked up from some training I've done with Jamie Winship. And I love the question he likes to ask, which is, and it could be about one of these hard students like, Lord, what do you want me to know? And what
Yes.
do you want me to do? and just sitting with
Exactly.
him in our quiet time and allowing him, because he always says something so surprising to me. I think I have this like canned
Mhm.
answer that I'm going to write down in my journal as his response. And it always ends up being something that's so either like I end up crying because it's so healing to me on whatever the
Mhm.
revelation is, or it's like completely out of left field and so full of love and grace, either way, really. But it's like, oh, he's just surprises us every time.
He does.
He has so much grace for us. The work that we do, which is so performance driven, like you're explaining with the scores. And yet there's these little people that have real lives, like the little boy with the mom that's the prostitute. And he just wants to minister to them. And
Mhm.
he just wants to use a little old me that's like,
Right.
okay, here's my little loaf and my fish.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
but I'm not sure if I fully want to give them to you sometimes because I only have so much. And he's like, but I'm the God of more than enough. And it's that
Mhm.
invitation to go, am I going to trust you to multiply? So, Trish, thank you for that. Yeah.
And all three of those kids, he helped them, his presence helped them find their real identity and who they were. Like
Wow.
instead of listening to the world, I think they found who they really were.
That's so good. Because you gave him space and you're willing to see them like he was showing you. That's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's all it takes, you know?
Hmm. How on the journey of recognizing his presence have you seen peace and joy increased?
I think I was a person who was honestly, I'm a pretty organized type A person. I like to follow the rules and
Hmm.
have everything in nice, neat little boxes, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so when things don't fit that way, it's very stressful to me.
Hmm.
And I think I have learned to roll with the punches a little bit better and have learned to be able to align my joy with his
Mm.
and try to see things through his eyes. And giving up the control, like I said, honestly, is a daily process for me.
Yeah.
And I blow it all the time. And to be honest with you, you know, the wonderful thing about kids is they're so forgiving. They just, I think they sense your heart. They know you're not perfect either.
Mm.
God, I think one of my favorite things is when he just gives me a moment, and sometimes I'll look out over my class and I'll just smile and I'll just think, God, thank you for letting me do this. Like I get to be
Mm.
a part of this, you know? And he helps me see joy in little moments and
Yeah.
seeing kids change and grow in confidence. And, you know, they may not be a score 5 on the fast for us. They might still, but their growth was incredible and they
Yeah.
can be confident. They can be proud of that, you know? So finding joy I think, in all of those things. And then I work on aligning my heart with his.
Mm.
And that's, again, like you said, just being aware. Because here's the thing as you're more aware of his presence, it helps you be able to walk more closely with him. Because
Hmm.
when you're aware of it, then I can learn and I can grow on staying with him and being with him.
Hmm.
But it's a process
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. We're on a journey. He's writing a
We're on a
story.
journey. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm just guessing there's probably some teachers listening. They're like, I want to have some of these experiences too, but I'm unsure as to what this looks like. Or maybe they're even saying, I don't know how this would work because I feel pretty restricted in my environment. What kind of direction or encouragement would you give these teachers?
Okay. Florida is fairly restrictive. I know there's other states that are more like California, Minnesota, but Florida is fairly restricted where I'm at. Like it's not like in the Midwest,
Mm.
or at least when I visited, there's more flexibility there. But that's the beauty of his presence is it can be restrictive because I'm not saying his name. Like I'm just trying to walk with him and hear him and do things that I feel like he's asking me to do and just praying for those kids. In the mornings, like I said, I really think that morning time, even if you just do it for 5 or 10 minutes
Hmm.
and you listen to your podcast for a few minutes or you read a Bible verse or just praying over those desks
Yeah.
and just saying, God, I just give you my classroom today.
Hmm.
And maybe just asking those two questions you said, you know, what do you want me to know and what do you want me to do about it? And just make me aware of you today. I think God will do amazing things if you just start small. And I just really think there's so much we can learn about being in his presence. And I think when we ask for it, he'll give it.
Yeah. Those are good. Okay, so what's one simple way that a teacher could begin becoming more aware of God's presence in their classroom this week? Like, what do they look for?
I really think that reflection at the end of the day is a great way to do it. I mean, because if we stop and take the time, I mean, even just talking with you, like I don't think about, honestly, I didn't put all these things together until you and I have been talking, and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh. So I think if we just at the end of the day, like I said, after I hug each kid and I say one nice thing to each one of them,
Mhm.
then I turn around and walk up the stairs. And as I'm walking up the stairs, I say, okay, where did I see God today? And what did he do for
That's
me?
good.
And I think that begins to make us aware.
Uh-huh.
Maybe even just writing a note when you see something positive in a kid and
Mhm.
you're like, I have no idea how I thought to do that with this kid, or
Yeah.
I had no idea that this parent would ask me. And we actually had a good conversation. I think maybe writing those down and
Uh-huh.
just thanking God for them and saying, God, keep showing me what you want me to do.
That's so good. Where did
You
I
know,
see God at work today? Yeah, and what did I notice that was I have no idea how that happened. That's
right.
him.
Because I think
Good.
if we look, we'll see it,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
because we have so much on our plate. We don't often take the time to reflect.
Mhm. Yeah. When you look back at your journey, Trish, what do you feel like God is writing through your life as an educator right now?
Well, a lot of it has to do with his presence, like we've talked about. And then I also think knowing his truth. When I say those verses around the classroom, I'm proclaiming his truth. I think, Satan doesn't like it when we know truth.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it when we say it because those are God's words. So I see him showing me more and more what his presence is like and being and understanding his truth more. And I try really hard now when Satan throws things at me and I feel discouraged or defeated or like there's nothing I can do in this situation. I'm learning slowly to not listen to those things and to go to God's word for truth and to sit in that truth for a little bit.
That's good.
And then the last thing that he's done has been really cool because it's so beautiful that he's giving me this time in the classroom. He started to open doors for me to work with teachers and
Mhm.
begin to show teachers how to take Jesus into their classroom
That's so good.
through different things with Christian educators, like the lifts that you were talking about,
Yeah.
and other things like that. And I have a teacher kind of support group that I meet with once a month that are Christians.
That's
And,
amazing.
we just do different things. And I even got to go to another country last year on a mission trip and work with teachers over there. And they're now training teachers in that country how to take Jesus in. So, like, I think, and being a mentor, I also get to talk to new teachers. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to them teach godly character. I don't have to say it's God, but I, talk to them about caring for their students and
Mhm.
seeing them as people. And so even though I may not be seeing God with them, I'm teaching them godly principles is what I'm trying to instill in them.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he's writing on my story right now
That's
is
beautiful.
I'm getting to work with not only students, but I'm getting to work with teachers. Hebrews and 10 has become a really verse that God has just laid on my heart this last year. And it talks about that we are to draw near to God
Mhm.
and then we are to hold fast and then we are to provoke each other to love and good works. And I feel like he's doing that over and over in my life. And that's what I see him writing in my story right now as I'm trying to hold on to that. I feel like that's the promise he's given me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. I love what you said about when we hold on to the truth, right? The enemy doesn't
Mhm.
want us to know that because then we know who we are and we can walk in our authority. We can wield that
Right,
word. And I
right.
love your scripture verse. Again, Hebrews.
It's Hebrews 10, like around verse 20. It starts around in there.
Okay,
So,
I'm going to
yeah.
put that in the show notes. I just think that's a good
Mhm.
verse to hold on to, especially this season. Just holding fast to the word and provoking one another to good deeds. It's
Yeah.
like encouraging one another. Yeah.
I just want teachers to know how very special they are. I
Yeah.
think, we get beaten down a lot in the media and parents. And honestly, in all of my years of teaching, it has never been as hard as it is now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it just is. I just want teachers to realize how very, very important people they are and what a difference that they make
Yes.
to be encouraged and to not listen to those lies because, when we listen to lies and we're discouraged and we feel burnt out, that's exactly where he wants us to be.
Yeah.
And I just want teachers to know that their calling is so
Yeah.
special and they can make a huge difference.
Well, can I put you a little bit on the spot for a second? Would you be willing
Okay.
to pray a blessing over our
Sure.
teacher listeners as they step into this space of wanting to host the presence of Jesus in their classrooms. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Dear God, I just thank you for your very presence and just how amazing and powerful that presence is, God. There are
Yes.
so many times in the Bible, God, it's just your presence that makes a difference, God. And we have the opportunity to carry you with us when we walk in that classroom. God, help us to know the height and the breadth and the depth of your love, and help us to know the hope of the calling
Yes, God.
that you've given us and the courage to walk it out. Help us to remember to draw near to you, God, and to spend time drawing near. And then after we've done that, God, and there are things that come that are hard, God, help us to hold fast
Mm-hmm.
and stand firm
Yes.
and stand on what you've shown us. And then, God, even more than that, help us to be able to be there for each other,
Yes.
support each other, encourage each other, God, and spur each other on to all the things that you've called us to do, God, so that we can touch all these kids and their families for Jesus. God, we have such a great, great opportunity. In your name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Trish, thank you so much for sharing your heart today on hosting the
Oh,
presence of God in your classroom, and just even the transformation that it's caused in your life. It's just evident in your voice as you've shared today. Thank you for being a gift to the body who's said yes to Jesus, to being on mission, or maybe they've sort of said yes and they're still stepping on the bus here. You are such a gift. And I just
oh,
appreciate you getting to share some of your amazing story with us today. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this podcast. Please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends in education so they too can be strengthened and encouraged in living their kingdom identity out loud in this pivotal hour. And please visit kingdomeducators.com to receive your Kingdom Educator Daily Truth Declarations, my encouraging newsletter, and be the first to know about my newest resources online and in-person events. And be sure to find me on the socials at kingdom.educators. Until next time, don't forget you are a history maker, and what you do every day is transforming lives.